Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us for tonight's edition of HR Mentorship and Learning Series. Tonight, we'll be looking at a topic I'm particularly interested and excited about: leveraging technological tools, a hands-on practical session on boosting productivity at work. Our facilitator for tonight is a returnee facilitator. He has done so well by popular demand and also by self-nomination. Is back again to continue with some of the learning interventions he has so graciously provided us, members of this platform. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to read his profile to us so some of us may get to know him even better. Victor Agu is a management and HR professional whose focus is on organizational success through HR excellence. Ladies and gentlemen, his experience spans across industries like finance, consulting, agriculture, hospitality, fashion, manufacturing, and real estate. He's a chartered practitioner, member of the CIPM, and a member of the Nigerian Institute of Management. He's also a certified project manager from the Tara Institute of Personal Project Management and holds a PMP certification from the American Academy of Project Management. Ladies and gentlemen, in addition to this, is currently the head of HR at Bankole Thomas Group, a Pan-African company that comprises of Bezel Homes and Investments, A913 Integrated Services, Bankole Thomas Company, with established presence in Lagos, Nigeria, Nairobi, Kenya, Freetown, Sierra Leone, and Juba, South Sudan. In addition to this, he has embraced technology in learning how to blend HR with data science via the use of advanced tools in preparing, visualizing, and transforming data to foster making strategic decision-making in HR and management in general. He's a graduate of economics from the prestigious Obafemi Awolowo University and is currently doing his postgraduate studies in industrial relations and personnel management from the University of Lagos. He's also a graduate of Stella Obialo Executive Training Academy and currently a student of data science at UTIVA. Ladies and gentlemen, beyond HR, Victor Agu is a professional speaker, trainer, and writer. He has published several articles, is an author of 4 books, notably HR in Brief, How to Land a Job Within 90 Days, put in this current year, 2024. Ladies and gentlemen, he also loves to play the piano, and his competency at that is at advanced or near advanced level. I'm excited, ladies and gentlemen, to hand over control completely to Victor Agu as he teaches us on leveraging technological tools in HR. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Thank you, everyone. Happy weekend, happy Saturday. It feels so good to be a student of OGA and a student of HR mentorship myself. And it's been a whole lot of learning. And it's not a coincidence that we are still learning even till the end of the year. And one of the first things I would like to say this evening is that, of course, we have roughly 80, I know less than 90 days, but a little over 80 days to the end of the year. And I'm sure that we are going to try to get as much value as we can get before we approach 2025. And I trust that as professionals, we are going to go into 2025 as high-level guys, and we are entering 2025 on a higher level. So if you've not been learning since January, I think that October is a good time to also catch fire. So welcome again, everyone. It promises to be a good ride. So one thing I'm going to say before we start is that we will have a practical session where we'll try to do 1 or 2 things live, and I'll be needing our interaction. So when it's time to write in the chat box or give us emails or stuff like that, please do well to follow up as quick as possible. I'm sure that I will not be losing anyone. So thank you once again. And of course, we are good to go. So the topic is, of course, leveraging technological tools. And we are looking at the things we can do here and there to boost productivity at work, right? Just before we start, what we will be looking at, we want to see the threat to productivity Of course, productivity will just mean you bringing your A game to work, delivering results. So what are the threats? What are the technological tools we could have? Which ones are essential to us? I'll try to see if we have the practical session or just after that or somewhere towards the end. And of course, we'll try one or two tools. The last time we tried Trello, Asana, we did SharePoint, and we did some tools around Office 365. We'll see how we can pick two or three today and how to set up collaborative tools, best practices. We want to see how people have been provoked to think of how collaboration and productivity can be made better by introducing tools here and there, real world applications. We also want to see how to set these things up. And of course, we would conclude. So I bet to say that this is really going to be exciting and journey with me. I'll start by telling us a story. I heard this story sometimes 3 weeks ago. So there was this real estate company that started out, I think about 6 or 7 years ago. And you know how business can be in the early days when nobody knows you, you are on the streets giving out flyers to people. For those of us who understand how real estate work, you need people to buy your lands or property or something. And there was this staff who was employed, and she was like the PA to the boss. And they would go on the streets of Lekki and VI distributing flyers, doing all that. And I think she joined about 6 or 7 years ago when they just started out. And the thing about real estate is that sometimes it can be very fast, it can be very, very quick. A project can just come now. And I mean, if you have your money, it doesn't take more than, we've seen buildings that have been completed in 1 year, right? Or some people would even say less than 1 year. But average time, I mean, 9 months to 18 months. So, they just got funding and they started doing a lot of things. And 7 years passed, the CEO can now drive, Lexus and Benz and everything and go in a convoy and all that. And a lot of persons got recruited, they got a CFO, they got a project manager, they got, everything you want to think about. But this lady was still earning about 150,000 naira. I mean, 120,000 or thereabouts after about 7 years of working. And one day she just broke down and it was a whole lot. And one of the things that the boss told her was the fact that he did not see as much value in terms of productivity. Yeah, she was just coming to work and doing the normal things. In fact, he also mentioned that as he was growing, as the company was growing, she did not grow along. So we can have a lot of philosophies to this story. A thought pattern can say, why did the company not try to make the person grow along? Another group of persons will say, maybe they told her, but she just felt like that was just what she could do. And, she had to leave the place. And it didn't matter that she had worked there for about 7 years, right? And for us in HR or other professionals, we've seen some people come to us with CVs of working for 10 years, 12 years, 15 years. And when you ask them what they've been doing, it's like it's a routine. So I go in, I clock in, I fill some particular forms, and I do a whole lot of tasks. So if you are on this training this evening and you discover that you don't see the swagger in your work, you are not fast with your processes, you have not embraced technology, you know that if you leave that job today and you are trying to get another job, you will struggle so hard, right? It's time to wake up, right? What are the threats? Like I said, I think I'm going to run very quickly so that we can have a lot of time for practical. What are the threats that we could have? How many of us can relate? I would ask two questions and I would like us to be interactive. So you can drop this in the chat box, right? So what has happened to you within your career that has pained you so much? Some management will tell you that to show your workings, they will tell you that you should show your results, right? If they cannot see results, if they cannot see this, if they cannot see that, it means you are not working. For those of us in HR, we are very used with the clause, what is HR doing and stuff like that. So I would like this to be interactive in the chat box. You want to share what has pained you, what statements have you heard when you felt like you have worked from morning till night, and then after 6 months, somebody is saying something to you. What is it that you've heard? So that's going to be one thing. I'll look at the chat box from time to time. Please do well to respond. So internal challenges, we have issues where procrastination, lack of motivation. I'm sure you can relate with a couple of times when you just show up at work on Monday and you don't even know where to start. You have like 10 things to do, but you don't even know which one is most important. You don't know where you're starting. You don't know. And at the end of the day, you close without almost doing anything. And that will lead me to poor time management. We'll see a particular tool that can help us check for where and how we lose track of time. You see, a couple of us will just discover that it is 9 a.m. now, and then it is 5 p.m. or it is 10 p.m. How did time go? What happened? Sometimes it's distraction, right? Again, there are times when you would hold your phone and what you wanted to do, trust me, was to open a particular email, but then you just see a pop-up somewhere and you are gone for the next 45 minutes, even at work. So if you are guilty of this, you know yourself. I mean, including me. And then there are times that you know that you have to do something that is very urgent, and it's not the best time to open an email. Because when you open one email, you see 1,000 other things that you could do. So these things are a couple challenges that we can see here and there. And of course, sometimes it's information overload. We do have a lot of information. They are telling us to do a particular thing, and then MD is saying another one, our HOD is saying another one. Sometimes the tools are too complex. Sometimes they've hacked our system. We just have a lot of issues here and there. Of course, it could be that there's insufficient training, right? We have communication breakdown. It's not even defined within our organization. And what are the things that we can do? Of course, sometimes it could even be from the organization when goals are not even clear, expectations are not clear, and you are wondering, what do these people exactly want from me? Sometimes it's poor leadership. And again, it could be lack of work-life balance. The debate around work-life balance will never end, especially in Nigeria, right? And this is one reason why productivity has to be talked about. Except you are living a sort of one-way life where you just go to work and that's probably the only thing that you do. I mean, for me, for instance, aside being head of HR at work, I'm currently doing my master's at Unilag, and there are times I just have to show up in class, do assignments, and do all that. I write, I do some other things here and there. There's also family time. It would just make sense to know that I can't just blow time. I can't just blow time. So there are some of us, we have side hustles. We do a lot of other things, and it just would make sense to know how to prioritize things so that we are not killing ourselves, right? Work is not suffering. You can't say because you are doing a whole lot of other things, because you are singing or writing or selling one thing, and then when you show up at work on Monday, you are just rusty. It's just not going to work. So, I mean, statistics will tell us that about 92% of jobs require technological tools, especially in 2024. And about 65% of employees will tell us that these tools are advantageous to their work rather than being a hindrance. This is technological era. You just cannot be in 1995. So having several tasks to complete, no doubt, would make you productive when you are just productive. You have a hack. In fact, let me tell you that I don't think there are a lot of things that are new. There are a lot of time. Whatever you want to do, for instance, say in HR, in this, in that, in marketing, people have done things that are similar. So the likelihood that you have 10 things to do and you always have to start from scratch every time, I think that there's a way to be minimal around that. So have you exploited templates? And we'll be seeing a couple of things very, very shortly. So it's important that you want to be fast, You want to streamline your tasks. You want to have effectiveness, not just efficiency. Efficiency is good. I'm an all-rounder. I can do a whole lot of other things. My staff can do a whole lot of stuff. But am I effective? I also know that there are some persons who will argue about this, that, see, in my organization, oh, if I go to work in the morning and I want to do like Superman, I start by 9 a.m. and by 12 p.m. I'm already done. They will give me more work. But that's not even the point. That's not the argument at this point. What we are just trying to say is that we are not blowing time. We are not repeatedly missing deadlines. We are not disorganized people. That's how we stand out. That's how we stand out with stuff that we are supposed to do, especially as it has to do with technology. All right. I want to put it to you that of all these tools here, if you can use about 70% of them, if you can use 60 to 70% of them, you don't even need to know how to use everything. For instance, you want to do task management, be it for projects, whatsoever, or customer service sometimes. You can use Trello. I think in the last class, we used Trello, we use Asana. They are about the same thing. If you can use any one of them, you can use all of them, right? You can use Trello, you can use Asana, Jira, ClickUp. We'll be using ClickUp today. For those of us who know how to use ClickUp, it would just be a refresher. And if we don't know how to use ClickUp, it's very easy to pick that up. Of course, you can use Smartsheet, Notion, whichever one for project management, managing your tasks. You can use any of these tools. And of course, for time management, Rescue Time, Harvest, Google Calendar, Evernote, these are tools. So you might want to take note of these things. Some of them have apps that you can easily download on your phone. And of course, you can do well to play around that. And of course, if it's for communication, in the last edition of this, we use Slack, right? So you want to see how Slack works. These things are super easy. How, especially when you have a hybrid structure or there's a lot of remote work around your organization, you want to see how people really understand how to use. Of course, we've seen Microsoft Teams, we've seen Zoom, Discord and Slack. They are very similar. They're about the same, almost the same thing. Google Meet. I know everybody knows Google Meet, but it's just important to understand what extras you can do with one of these tools that you cannot do with any. And because we play a game of numbers, either you're in finance or you're in HR, in 2024, you just have to be a numbers person. You have to understand how dashboard works. You have to understand how data works. So what are the things that you can present in Excel? For instance, you can do dashboard on Excel. You can use Google Analytics. You can use Power BI. In fact, you can use ClickUp. ClickUp that is under project management. You can use that to create dashboards, right? You can also collaborate with Google Sheets. They are all interwoven. So it's important for us to have that in mind. How about tools like Gemini? We all know ChatGPT, but Gemini, you literally say, create a report concerning this and this. And I'm not saying you should go and download and copy everything you see on Gemini, but at least it gives you an idea that you don't have to start from the scratch every single point in time. And it's important for us to leverage on templates. Okay, now having said this, I'm trying to do this so that we would have the practical session and of course come back to do a lot of collaboration here and there. So what are the things we should take note of? How do you set this up in your workplace or for yourself? What are your objectives? What are the needs of your organizations, right? Like I said, I don't want to lose anybody. We're just trying to lay foundations so that we can get into practical, real time. You know the requirements, you know what you want to achieve. It's very important so that you don't just fly into tools and you don't even know what you want to do, right? What's the communication plan? Prepare employees for the new tool. For those of us in HR, we understand change management. You don't just force down change to the truth of people, right? You don't force change to the truth of people. You prepare them, you inform them that you are moving to this particular, so they are aware, and then you carry them along, right? And of course, you select what platform you want to use, and then you get their feedback. It's not a one-way traffic. So I can see from the chat box, Zainab says, when your management says you lack capacity, despite delivering on your job, items, task. But I rather believe it's actually a case of confused and poor management of on the executive failure to carry its employees along. These are critical issues. Thank you. I agree, especially with the later part, right? Carrying staff along, carrying employee along, carrying the members of your team along. It's something that is very crucial for us to do. And these are things that we need to consider, especially when we go back to organizations, right? So your manager or anybody saying you lack capacity, we should understand these things in terms of context. But if you understand what you are doing, you know that you are delivering. You have KPIs. You know that you are delivering on your job. You are doing what your JD is telling you to do, or what your JD has said you should do, and you are even delivering some perks. You are productive. You are not dragging. You are not slow, because that's like the emphasis. Then it could be sentiment from the management. But my point is, don't be wrong. Don't be wrong. Don't be wrong. Like the story that I mentioned initially, right? We can have different arguments to that girl's story, but you can literally say she had lost about 7 years of her life. And it just does not make sense at this point. In fact, I like the story, I like the question of where do you see yourself in 5 years and 10 years and all that. But life is becoming very fast-paced that you want to answer questions as to what's happening to you in the next 3 months, what's happening to you in the next 1 year, right? And that's something that we should get into. That's something that we should adopt as real-time professionals, even in 2024 again. Of course, training is very important. We know all these things, but just for the sake of re-emphasizing, you want to train your guys. You want them to evaluate. You want to get feedback, like I said. And of course, when doing these things, you want to be strategic about your implementation, right? What are the goals? What specific tools are you taking to meet these needs? We've talked about task management, time management, communication, and all that. And of course, we've talked about monitoring these things. Now, like I said, we've seen Google, right? In times past, we've had a lot of, in fact, in the 1990s and, way before that, we know that we had challenges around collaboration and productivity. And of course, coming in, we saw Google Workspace. And from Google Workspace, you know that you should be able to use your calendar. If you are a professional and you don't know how your Google Calendar works, your Google Docs, your Google Sheets, there's a lot of work to be done. So, and of course, we have seen a reduction in email usage. You don't really need to send email on everything if you are collaborating very well with your team, right? So we have seen that we can have multiple channel engagement, automated workflows, predictive analytics. If you use your Google Analytics very well, you can discover that you can see workflows, you can see processes, you can do projections here and there. And for me, it's real time. Of course, at Microsoft too, you can see that there was a time when we had customer service, customer support issues. We couldn't do a whole lot of things in real time. And of course, Office 365 came, and then there was an increase in a reduction in customer response time, increase in customer satisfaction. We are able to do real-time editing. We are able to communicate. We are able to do integrated workflow here and there. So it's important for us to understand that productivity cannot be thoroughly stressed, right? And on this note, I'd like us to look at one or two. So if I should ask us randomly, what are the things that take your time, especially at work when you're on your system? Sometimes it's difficult to tell. And that's why I would recommend the use of rescue time, right? To be installed on our devices, be it your phone or on your system. It's so easy. When you go on Google, for instance, okay, let's try to do that. So when you go on Google, for instance, and you type rescue time, please, if you have your phone or another system or something, you can follow up. I think following up, I'll begin to ask questions and I want this to be very interactive. So if you type rescue time, there are two ways to do this. If you do rescue time, you would see you'll see that this is a fully automated tracking software. So you want to install that on your device, or you can also add that as an extension. For me, we might not go into how to install and do all that process because I already have it installed on my system. But I'm just going to tell you how it works basically. So it's just the same way you download any other software to your system. So just make sure that you have Rescue Time. The name is Rescue Time, either on your phone, depending on what phone you are using, but most importantly on your system. Now, my point is, if you are not able to download it on your phone, you'll see a prompt that tells you to add it as an extension. For those of us who are a little bit IT savvy, we know that you can have a lot of extensions to your Chrome. For instance, all these things that you see here, this is like a color picker tool. Let's say you want to pick up colors from somewhere to do a particular work. This is another tool here. This is another tool. So you'll see a list of my extensions. I have the color picker, Colorzilla, I have Grammarly. You can see Rescue Time, right? So you can have that as an extension on your Chrome. It will still work on your system. And once you have installed that to your system, you should find it. You can even pin it to your taskbar, right? And when you open Rescue Time, for instance, this is what I'm trying to portray. All right. So when you open Rescue Time, you would see a dashboard that looks like this. What does Rescue Time tell you? Because a lot of time it looks like our time has disappeared. We don't even understand where our time has entered. We just discovered that we're at 9 p.m. And what exactly have we been doing, especially when we are at work? What exactly have we been doing? Now, you are able to create a particular work day. For me, this is Saturday, right? This is Saturday, 5th of October. And here I can see that I'll try to do for another day, but I just want to give us a quick breakdown here. Now you see that there is a dashboard here that just tells me, okay, communication, depending on what categories, the number of work hours should be like 8 hours. But then I would mention that what I really want us to see is our reports. What Rescue Time does for us. It's installed and it takes track of all that we do on our system per day. So it will literally tell you how much time you have spent on WhatsApp, on Zoom, on TikTok, on whatsoever, or on your software, ERP, whatsoever you are using at work. And it gives you an idea. If I go to apps and websites, for instance, I will see that today I've been on Rescue Time. Maybe I was trying to set one thing just because of this class, right? Of course, you can use the free version. I usually tell people that when you are trying to access a tool or a software, especially as it has to do with HRIS, for instance, let's say Seamless HR or any of these other ERPs, the excuse that maybe your organization does not use it yet or you don't have a way around getting the paid version is never going to be tenable. Let's say you want to attend an interview, for instance. You can always use the free version of these things and get timed out on a free trial and try again to use a free trial just for the purpose of learning, right? So they have paid features, but of course you can do well to use the free versions. Now you see that I've spent about 1 hour on Excel today. I've done some things on my Drive. I've done some things on my Google Calendar. I've done some things on Windows Explorer. You don't need to do any extra setting. Just have it installed and it takes note of every single thing on your system or on your phone. It tells me that maybe today I've spent less than an hour on WhatsApp. It's looking like it's not true, but I think there are reasons why I have not been on WhatsApp a whole lot today. But imagine that on a Monday in the evening, I discover that I've not done a whole lot and my MD is shouting at me and I come to Rescue Time and I see that WhatsApp is at 4 hours here. You understand? And maybe the software or whatsoever I'm using at my company is under 1 hour, 30 minutes. You know, I have a lot of questions to answer for myself. I don't need anybody to ask me those questions. On my Google Chrome, on my Gmail, if I've done some other things on this system today, it will list out everything, right? And I have, all you need to do, for instance, is to get on a particular day. This is tomorrow, for instance. This is tomorrow, and you want to add, right? You want to come here and let's say at 2:45. Let's say you, just a second. Okay, just a second. Okay, so you want to, I just installed this for today's class, but when you get this installed, it's going to ask you, I just don't want to go into all the setup, but it's going to ask you how many hours do you have for work, right? When you are trying to do the setup, you are going to see a place where you can choose the number of hours, let's say from 9 to 5 or 8 to 5, depending on what exactly you want to do. And then it's going to categorize whether you want to do business, utilities, communications, and all that, right? I'm trying to see how we can, let's say applications, right? Let's say applications. And then I add this. Okay. And then I want to add another thing. Okay, I want to say apply to different places, for instance, and then I add that, right? I want to add get reports, right? And I add that, right? I can add as many things that I want to do. You don't need to worry about generating the report. All you just really need to know is you imputing at your setup. Like I said, it's going to ask you for the number of hours you want to work. I think that's all that you need. And it would give you a categorization of whatever task that you want to do, right? And then you come here to your categories. For instance, you can see all those categories, how many things that you have done. You can come here to your reports. You can check your productivity level, right? So again, when you are trying to do your setup, you have a categorization where you are seeing, okay, your focus work, your other works, different categorizations that you've made, how much time have you allotted to these things, right? So under these reports, this is what is very, very much important to you. You want to check, but for me, I like to use this for my apps and websites a whole lot so that it gives me a mental picture of the number of things I'm doing and how much I've invested into those stuff, right? And you can come to goals and alerts. Trust me, you can just toggle around this dashboard and these stuff, and it gives you all the analytics that you want to do. If you come to timesheets, for instance, right, you can create a particular project here, and then you give it a particular deadline. Let's say I'm calling this my name. Okay, let me say I just want to call this let's say recruitment. Let's say recruitment, and then I want to assign this to, let's assign it to Victor, and available task, let's just call this a new task, and then we give it a particular, let's say this person is a vendor, it's an external vendor, for instance. I want to allot a timesheet to the person. You can come and then you create a project for the person. Once you have done this, the moment you have run for, let's say, about 4 hours, 5 hours, or at the end of the week, you can literally come to this report here or this project and come and look at a track of how many hours has been sent. You can download the timesheet from here for how many number of people you have assigned tasks and actually look at how much time they have actually spent on the job. Please, let's just get that. I don't want us to get too detailed and confused. But the most important thing, don't forget from using rescue time, which I expect that we'll do an in-depth study on, is that our reports, under our reports, we are able to generate, how much we have used our apps, how much we have used our websites. We can talk about clients, we can talk about tasks. I'm not going to spend so much time on this because ClickUp will be a better tool to further explain how these things work. So I just want to please check from the chat box if you are following up with how rescue time works. Please, I would like to see that you are either dropping an emoji or you are telling me you are following so that I can know that we are good to go. But then we would have a lot of practicals with ClickUp, and then we will see how this works in real time. All right, so okay, thank you very much. I see that. Okay, so let's look at ClickUp. Like I said, that's the focus. I only went to rescue time because I wanted us to understand how much we spend on different things that we do and the time implication this has on us. So on a particular day, let's say we have a Tuesday morning when you have a lot of things that you want to do. And by 4 p.m., you just look at your rescue time, and then you are seeing that you have been on Instagram for about 3 hours. You should feel bad. Even if your manager did not come to meet you, even if your line manager, your HR manager, your MD did not come to you, you should naturally feel bad that you have spent about 5 hours of your work time on entertainment. Even if you are doing your personal project and you discover that you can't hide, that's like the point. Anyways, let's just go on. It will get interesting, really interesting now. Now let's go to ClickUp. One of the issues that I think we had on using rescue time was the fact that I was already signed in and it could not allow me generate as much as I wanted to generate. So on using ClickUp, we'll make this a little bit more interesting. So any one of us, please, I would like us to drop our emails, of course, your Gmail. I don't think it will hurt to drop your Gmail so that we can create an actual account for you. The reason for that is that they are going to send you a verification and we need to confirm that account. So anybody who wants to give us that, it would be, thank you very much, Sir Vic. Thank you very much. All right, so I would have gone to log in, but let me do sign up. It will make a lot of sense. Thank you very much. I see a lot of emails. We'll still use the emails. And okay, so signing up, what does ClickUp help us to do? Don't forget my slides where I mentioned that for task management, project management, you can literally use Jira, Trello, blah, blah, blah. But the reason why ClickUp is really sweet or cool is that you have a lifetime free access. If you want to use the free version forever, you can keep using it, unlike some of those other tools that will time you up. So you might want to try this for yourself before you integrate this into your team. All right. So let's just try using, I'm going to try using the first, I think I see AIG Frankie. So please be ready to open your email to give us just a second. Okay, AIG Frankie at gmail.com. Okay. And for the sake of passwords, I think you might want to change this later, but I'm just going to use okay, let's use very good boy. Okay. I don't know why this email is not, but then I want to try another one. Maria Karun we 06 at gmail.com. Gmail.com. Okay. Don't have an account. We are signing up. Okay, let's just try Maria Karun. Okay, and then we are trying Mariam Karunwi 06@gmail.com, and we are trying very good boy, right? And then we can click on, okay, there's a problem with the password. Very good boy. Let's try one. Very good boy one. Very good boy one. Somebody should please take note of this password and put it in the chat box for us, please. Very good boy one, right? And then play with ClickUp. So they're going to ask us. So this person who provided Maria Karun with 06, please help us with the email they sent to you so that we can do a quick sign in, please. Please, let's do a quick one. Let's do a quick one. Let's do a quick one. Okay. Thank you very much. Can that person please tell us what, if not, just for the sake of time, I have to go to my signed account, but I really don't want to do that. Can you please check your email? Can you please check your email? Can you please check your email? Okay, while we are waiting for that, I might just need to, if we don't see that, I might just need to open up on my own account. But then if we see that, we are going to come back. Okay. So I'm just going to log in, but then if I see that, I'm going to come back. So here is still ClickUp. So I'm trying to log in on my account. I'm trying to log in on my account. I am trying to just log in on my account, but of course I don't know. And then if you've seen, okay, if you've created an account, but then you need to send us the verification code, please. Miriam Karunwa, you need to send us the verification code. I'm also trying to log in on my account, but I seem to be having issues, but then I'm just trying to fix that now. We really need to see how this works. Okay. I don't know for whatever reason why I've not been able to get that, but I'll just log in on my account so that we can go on with this class, please. So there are three things that I want us to take note of when using ClickUp, right? Either for ourselves or for our work. You have the workspace, you have your own particular space. You have, please take notes, you have the workspace, you have your space, you have your task, and you have your list, and you have your task. Again, your workspace, your space, your list, and then you have your task. It's like you are cascading things into little things. So for instance, we have our workspace. This is my workspace. I just called it Victor Agu's workspace. You can come here and you want to create a new workspace. I think we might just need to do that. What do you want to use it for? Let's say you want to use it for work, and how many people are working with you? Let's say 11 to 25 persons. It really does not matter what you are doing here. Maybe finance and accounting, operations, marketing, professional services, your workspace. We can call this, we can just say GESD enterprises, right? Or let's just say, okay, let's just say we want to call this GESD, right? GESD ENT. I'm going to try to run as fast as possible now. And of course, I do have my workspace. So number one, like I said, is workspace. Who can tell me in the chat box after workspace, what's next? The first thing is workspace. The next thing is what? I want to see if you are following me, please. Workspace, after workspace, what's next? After workspace, what's next? Okay, I'm just going to run again. I said workspace, then your space. After workspace, you have your space. So instead of this space here, you see it as, this is GESD Enterprises. You have your space. Space can be another word for department, right? So I can come here and I can choose to rename this first space that is here. I can call it marketing department, right? Or I can even call it, let's say I'm working for myself. I just want to make my work easier. I can call this recruitment. Recruitment, and then I save changes. After doing that, I'll come here to this plus icon here, and then I'll create another space here, and then I can call this performance management. Performance management. And after that, I will just create just one more for the sake of time. I've created performance management. I'll create another space and I'll call it, you can give me an example. We can call it, let's call it learning and development. Learning and development. I wanted this to be very, very interactive so that you are giving me ideas, but we'll try and see how we can run. But then please, for those of us that can use the chat box, it would make a lot more sense if we are having, asking a question and then we are typing and all that. So I said, thank you, employee engagement. That will be the last one we'll add. And we are trying to catch the fire now. Employee engagement. Right? So I'm doing this for myself. Please take note. But then if I want to do this for my department, let's say, or for my organization, I don't have the luxury of ERP to use or whatsoever. I'm a GESD. I can come here to create another workspace, right? I can create a new workspace, but don't let's complicate things. We have said that after creating a space, you should create a list. So it means that you can then go into recruitment, right? If you create recruitment, inside recruitment now, what are the possible things that we can have in recruitment? Let's say I'm coming inside recruitment. You want to do, what are the possible things that we can have inside recruitment, please? For those of us who are with me, we can say, we want to say job advertisement. Awesome. Yeah, you are getting the drill, right? Job. So we create a list here and then we call it, just a second. So we call it job advertisement. Right? So we can create another one. What next? What other thing can we create? Thank you. Review of CVs. Well, job requisition form. Let's just take review of CVs and we'll take one more. Review of CVs and of course, shortlisting. We can create that job advertisement, review of CVs. We'll create another one more and we call it, we can call it shortlisting, right? For the sake of time, you already get the scope, so you can always improve upon this as you practice on your own. So we have all these things happening under recruitment. Now, under performance management, you see the plus. That performance management is a space. So we need to create a list under performance management. For those of us, again, who are in HR, what are the possible things you can have under performance management? Please, 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 let's make this, let's say goal setting. Somebody should give me another one. Goal setting. Another thing you can do, another list, KPIs, and one last one, please. One last one. Meetings, okay. Under performance management, that's list. Thank you very much. Meetings. So it means that in your HR department or in your marketing department, sales department, we are doing things that are peculiar to HR. You can create things that you know that you're supposed to do. And learning and development, which is the last one, let's just do one or two lists. Under learning and development, what can we have? What can we have? Right? What can we have? Gap analysis, awesome. Yeah, gap analysis. And trust me, this is for free, and you don't really need to stress management to begin to pay a lot of money if they don't have the means to do that just yet. That's not to say we should not use ERPs, but we are just trying to see how we can do a couple other things. All right. So apart from gap analysis, training outcome, trainings, let's just use trainings, right? Just because you people are excellent people and I'm loving this, I want to know what's the next step after creating your space and your list. What's the next thing you should do inside the list? We are going back to recruitment. What's the next thing that you should do? What's the next thing that you should do inside the list? Right? Inside the list, what should you do in a list? You should create a task. A task. You should create a task. Right? Okay, creating a folder, that's something we can do, but for the sake of this class, we want to run very, very fast. All right, so task. So under job advertisement, you can have 3 things again that you want to do. Let's say, for instance, you want to do job evaluation first, or you want to, let's just use this hypothetically, and then you save. Notice that we are inside job advertisement. You want to do job description. That's another thing here. Job description. So you have to take note that even though people are working hybrid or they are working remotely, you can form a map. You can form everything that everybody is supposed to do. And there is no excuse of I'm not at work. That's why I'm not following up with this. Job description. What's the next thing? Let's just take one more. Let's just take one more. If we don't have one more, that's very fine. We are good to go. Right? We are good to go. All right. Under job evaluation, for instance, if there's any other one more, okay, interview questions. Well, I mean, this is just hypothetical. Interview questions. Okay, we'll stop at this. Save. We might not go into all the details. Once we're able to do for recruitment, you can understand for reviewing of CVs. It means you can go inside reviewing of CVs and begin to create tasks one by one. Now, when you come to review recruitment and you go to job advertisement, now notice that here you can have an assignee. So if you click on assignee, this can be assigned to me, or you might want to assign it to somebody. There are a lot of messages in our chat, but I'm trying to see if I can pick one particular email just again. Let's assume that I want to pick Hakim 398, Hakim 398 at yahoo.com, right? And what you are going to, Hakim, it means that you get an email right now that I've invited you to this platform, and I have assigned this task to you, right? So Hakim, this is, I can decide to give you full access if I want. I can decide to, the same way we operate when we do our Google Workspace. So what you can see is that this job evaluation task has been assigned to Hakim, and it's going to be due on what particular date? Today is October 5, and I'm saying, Hakim, I'm giving you only 2 weeks to perform this task, and I will choose 19th of October, right? October 19th is your due date. Then you come here and you see what you call priority. Now, is this urgent? I think this is very, very urgent. It's high, it's low. If I say it's low, it means that you can go and be eating shawarma, right? You can go and be eating shawarma. But if I call it urgent, of course, definitely this has to be urgent. And you can come here. There are a lot of other things that you can do. If you click on this plus icon, you can add several other things. For instance, I can say I want to add progress. Let's say automatic progress. Now, let's say automatic progress, I will say completion rate, right? Completion level. For the sake of time, we might not be able to go over everything, but you'd at least get the idea and practice, right? Completion level. So it gives you 0%, 0%. As you begin to do things, yeah, it will begin to populate itself. One other thing that I think we can do is that if you come to this plus icon, you will see there's a particular function I'm trying to look for. Okay, let's see this plus icon. I'm trying to add status. Yeah, if you come to this plus icon here, there's what is called status. Now I would explain. Status just means that you either have something as, okay, I can explain this way again. Let me explain this way just to give us some perspective, right? Status, let me say in progress, or let me say on hold, right? And then I click on save, and I click on save. So it means that I can have this thing either I have on hold, I can have completed, and then I click on save. I can have a whole lot of things. Let's say on hold, completed. I can come back to status again, click here and add the status of your job, new status, and I can say this is in progress, So you can decide to do whatever you want to do, right? So in progress, you might want to change the color. You might want to change this to green, blue. That's not the point exactly. So when I come here and I click on this toggle behind job evaluation, I'm going to see, can you see in progress, completed, on hold, complete, all the status that I've created? Please, I hope we are together. So you can see that every time you create a status, it will tell you that what we have now is to do. The moment Hakeem is done with all these things, if he's done before October 19, right? If he's done before October 19, we can come here and literally say he has completed the task. Now, finally, just because we are trying to wrap this up, I mean, after the space, I've talked about task, I talked about list, I talked about task. What's the next thing that I said you should talk about? What's the next thing that I said you should talk about? Subtask, that's like the last thing. So if you open job evaluation here, there are a lot of other things that you can do under job evaluation. So if you open this plus icon under job evaluation, what 2 or 3 things can we have under job evaluation? Please, I want us to follow. Under job evaluation, what are 2 things that you can have? Let's say speaking to managers. Let's just use that as an example, right? We want to say speaking to managers. Literally, these are things that we should almost have a whole day to talk about, but we are trying to cascade and we'll try to see how much we can do. So speaking to managers, and then I can save that. And another thing that Hakeem must do, let's just use job analysis, yeah, and we will do just that analysis. Just for perspective, we can take one last one. What other thing can you do? New job task. Let's just say report to HR manager, compare prices or whatever, do a survey, whatever you want to do, right? And that will be the final thing under job evaluation. So my point is, you notice that this completion level is 0 here. And then you come here, you click, Hakeem comes, and then he clicks on, he has spoken to manager. He has, I'm coming, he clicks on speaking to manager, and then he clicks on completed. Then he comes again and he says, oh, my job analysis, I've completed my job analysis. I've also completed it, right? And he comes again to say my survey is in progress. So it helps us understand, okay, because the color codes are not well defined, we can say on hold, for instance. Because the color codes are not well defined, we can literally see what he has been up to, right? And here, just here, for whatever reason, he can say this is in progress. So you can see that the job evaluation task here is in progress, and you can exactly monitor what exactly he's doing. The same thing you can do to another particular task, another particular subtask, the same thing you do for job description, for interview questions, for a whole lot of other things that we can do. Let's just take one more under job description. Under job description, let's see if we can add just one or two tasks. So you come here. What things can we have under job description, please? Thank you for the responses. They are well appreciated. Under JD, what can we do? What can we do? What can we do? We can do review of JD. Thank you very much. Review of JD. Let's just have one more. Let's just have one more. Review of JD. We can just have this saved and then new subtask. We can just say, let's just say reports. Let's just, okay, exit interview feedback, whatever we want to do, exit feedback. Again, these are hypothetical stuff, and then we click on save. The same thing, this is not assigned, but this job can be assigned to anybody within your team and all that. So again, I will assign this to me. So you can assign a task to yourself. Review of JD, I'm going to assign it to me. Exit feedback, I'm going to assign it to me. You can literally put in the email of anybody and you set in due date. Now, one reason why this is important is that you don't need to be chasing anybody. So this is due on the 29th, no problem. I get out of there. This is due on the 16th, no problem. I get out of there. And I've assigned that to different persons, right? So you can literally set up a whole department. If not a whole department, you can set up the different things that you are doing. So if you are doing 10 particular things at the same time, you can come here and create workspaces. You can come here and create spaces. You can come here and create a list of the things that you are doing. You can create a list of tasks, and then you can create subtasks. Don't forget, when using ClickUp, first thing is to create your workspace. I did this for GESD because I thought I was doing for an organization. I can literally come here and create a workspace for, let's say this is personal, and I want to create this for just me. And then for personal use, I click on next, and I just click on next. What do I want to call this? I want to call this, I can see a particular name, Adeshewa. Adeshewa's life, work life. Let's just say Adeshewa's work life, right? And then I want to be able to look at it at a glance. Okay, I am HR supervisor, but at the same time, I am running a business. At the same time, I'm going to church. At the same time, I'm doing particular stuff. And this requires discipline. If you know you are not going to stick to this, because it's one thing to talk about tools from now till tomorrow. It's another thing to be able to look at them at a glance and be sure that you are doing these things on track. Don't forget, I will try to touch on that dashboard. You can have timesheets. You can do, trust me, these things are very user-friendly. You can use them for yourself, like I said. You can use them for your department. You can use them for your organization. Guess what? It's free for life. You do have limitations, though. There are a couple of things you cannot do, but 80% of all that you would ever need, you would be able to do it on the free version of ClickUp, right? So this is, remember, we have GESD, which was for the organization somewhere here. We have Victor Agu. I do have a personal workspace for my life, right? So this is like Adeshewa. We are into Adeshewa. In fact, if you want to create a space, which is like the next thing that I said we must do, you can create a space here, and then you can use templates. You don't have to start from scratch, but I usually don't like templates because sometimes they are too streamlined. I can't do all the things that I want to do. But if you want to use templates, why not? If you come and you click on template, you see, is it something that has to do with marketing? Is it quick start? Is it for project management? Is it for social media? For people who are doing content creation and all that, you want to schedule your post, you want to do agile project management, you want to do a change management plan for your organization, you want to renovate your house, you want to do a legal project, you want to do construction. I mentioned that we work, there's a subsidiary where we do real estate stuff. So sometimes my team just get on construction project management tools and we do a lot of stuff. A lot of things. You cannot exhaust all. In fact, I saw one for event planning. So you have a wedding that you want to plan, you can literally come and use ClickUp to do all your event. It's the same principle. First of all, do um, do what you want, do what you want to do. Set up your space, your task, your subtask, your list. First of all, like I said, I can see someone saying the free version seems to be for personal use. No, that's not very true. That's not very true. We use the free version for quick tasks even within my organization, and different departments use that. So you want to check that it's not true. You can use that for anything, literally. You just have limitations, but you can use that. So can you see that we have employee onboarding here? Guys, anything in this world almost support. So even if it's only ClickUp, you want to really master and use templates, blah blah blah, and do all that you want to do, you will never exhaust that, right? I see someone saying the template can actually help get familiar with the usage. Absolutely. I just have a personal bias because sometimes I want to do some tweaking. Sometimes when you get into the templates, you are limited. Again, like I said, maybe we can just use, for the sake of time, I really don't want us to, okay, we can just try one, right? We can just try employee onboarding, for instance, use templates. Like I said, space name, we can just call. So again, you remember that we mentioned that the first thing you need is a space. So when you are doing your employee onboarding, what's like the first thing? Give me like one important thing that you can do, first of all. Anybody. Employee onboarding. What's the first thing that you want to do? Please, I want to be sure that guys are following me. Please. And I also want to be sure that it's not exactly boring. Okay, so somebody said tour, joining form. So we can have a whole lot of stuff we want to do. And of course, I can use the template here. So I have, right? I have in this space, I have I can decide to rename this again. I can call this, I can see filling forms, excellent. I just keep having. So you can click on this and rename, right? We can call this filling forms, filling forms, right? Filling forms. The owner of this, forget about the owner, you can, depending on whoever is using that. So you see filling forms, you can go on and on to do whatever you want to do. But then that's for templates, and you can decide to do a whole lot of other things that you want to do. But my point is, don't let's digress, right? We are trying to do a work life for, let's say, Adeshua. So for instance, a space that would be relevant to her, for instance, can be, let's say she has her office work to do, her office work, but at the same time, even though she has her office work to do, she's also doing uh her CIPM. So I will come here, please permit me to delete these items. I don't want us to go in that route. Okay. Okay, but of course I would just let us run, create a space. So again, she's doing her CIPM, and then she's doing her CIPM. What other thing? Please give me examples. So she's working. And of course, Adeshewa can also help us with this, right? She's also a PG student. Awesome. So I create another space, and then I'm a PG student. One last thing that she's doing, because a lot of us, we do several things with our lives, right? We do several things with our lives. And she's selling stuff. Okay. I don't know what that stuff will be, but I just know it's not, she's a choir mistress. Okay. We'll just take the fact that she's selling stuff, right? Adeshewa, she's a choir mistress. Okay. So she's selling, let's say uh, she's selling TVs, right? Uh, guys, we can go over and go over all these things. But my point is, when okay, it's telling us to choose unlimited. Possibly these are some of the limitations I'm talking about. We might have had, I think it doesn't allow us to have more than 5 things we are doing at once. And because we have tried to do filling forms and all that, but let's just go into our office work. I'm not going to go over this again. My point is, if you go into a space, you are going to create a list. If you go into a list, so inside office work, you know that every day you have 5 things you want to do, list them out. Inside the list, you have 6 tasks you must perform, list them out, and then have a visual representation of them. Have the ones you have completed, have the ones that are in progress, assign status to them so that you can know that you are not just worrying in your head, what have I finished? What have I not finished? What have I done? And you can literally have a setup for a particular week. So I'm challenging 2, 5, 10 of us to literally use ClickUp to set up your next week, right? Set up your next week and have a visual representation. I don't want to go into all the details, but my point is you can use this for your organization, for your department, for your personal life, whatsoever you want to do. Now, I want to show us 2 things. I know we are running down on time. I'm trying to go back to GESD, which is the recruitment job ad thing and all that. If you scroll up, you can see dashboards. This is very, very important because sometimes you have to show management or you have to show yourself what dashboards you have. Of course, this is not to say you should not learn how to use Excel and Power BI and some other tools. We are just saying that even on these little things that you do, you can have a visual representation of them, right? So you might want to choose, you can choose any of these time tracking whatsoever. Like I said, I have a bias towards templates for using some of these tools, especially when I want to learn them. I like to do a simple one from scratch so that I can understand. Later on, it would be very easy to use whatever template you want to do. So I choose a simple dashboard. Notice that, can you see that if you click on this drop down arrow, you can have a visual representation of anything. Let's use recruitment because that was one of the things that we did. Let's say, okay, let's say we want to use recruitment. For instance, I'm trying to pick recruitment, and of course, all the things that are under recruitment and create a dashboard. So when you create a dashboard, you will see a lot of things that has happened. So there's one as unassigned task, there's one task in progress, 0 is completed. Trust me, we don't have a lot of time, but if we had populated everything, workspace, space, after space, what is next, your list, your task, and then your subtask, you will see everything that is unassigned. So if you have not assigned any task as a manager, you will know if some are in progress, and then if you go down, you can even see graphs. You remember that we assigned something to Akim, then I assigned some other things to myself. So you can assign stuff to different persons and you have a representation here. You have graphs for unassigned, you have different things that you can do and you can tweak and do whatever you want to do. So the dashboard option here is very beautiful. I'll show us 2 more things. And I had to spend a lot of time here because this tool is super, super, super amazing to use, both for your work or your personal life. Now, if you come to your spaces and you click on this plus icon, there are some other just two things we will do. Now, you see that you can add, I'm coming, there's something I'm trying to get. If we come back to recruitment, for instance, we can, I'm trying to see. Okay, awesome. Now, if you click on this plus icon for any of your spaces, you can add a document. Let's say you are working with a particular document, or you want your team to work with a particular document. You have a form that some people have filled, you want them to have access to it. You can attach a document, you can attach a form, you can do a folder, you can do whatsoever, and everybody will have access to it from a glance. Let's use a document, for instance, right? It means that here, I can come here and all I can say is the CFO role. So imagine the boss, and I'm saying I don't want a male candidate. I don't want a male candidate, right? Candidate. I come again and I say, I want this fast. I come again and I say, I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed. And you say all that you want to say, right? This is a document, and then you can share. You can share with everybody. You can share with the entire team, right? You can share with the entire team, and then you share. Once you share this thing, everybody gets that document. So you don't really need to start pursuing everybody here and there. So that's that. Like I said, two more things. The next thing which is like the last, is the whiteboard. Now, the whiteboard is so important because when using the whiteboard, you can even decide to maybe use a flow chart. So you might want to add a website link. You might want to use a flow chart. You might want to do concept marking. You might want to do, trust me, there are a lot of templates, right? So if we use a flow chart, it means you automatically have a flow chart here, and then you begin to put in all that you want to do. And when you are done, you can add this to that same space. So think of the space as a duplex where you have 3 sitting rooms, 4 bedrooms, 2 toilets, 2 kitchens, and you can do anything that you want to do. Trust me, our only limitation is time, but it feels like we are doing 10,000 things on ClickUp, right? It's good to do any other tool, but if you know how to use one of these tools very well, trust me, if anybody brings Jira, Trello, Asana, whatsoever to you, you need 5 minutes. So just understand the rules: workspace, space, after space, you come to your list. After your list, you come to your task. After your task, you come to your subtask. And trust me, go over these things. They are very, very user-friendly, right? You would have to permit me to try to wind up from here. There are a lot of other things to show, but I have to be mindful of time before Oga sends me a visible query, right? But then, guys, it's beautiful to know that you can do a whole lot of things with these tools, right? So again, don't forget that we have, can you see my slides, please? Okay, I'm seeing someone saying, can we do this again? As a project manager, how will I know? We would attend to questions after. I just want to do a wrap up, right? We can't exhaust all these things within about an hour, but trust me, we did task management. I've talked about rescue time. So if you are seeing TikTok at 100% on a Monday morning or on a Monday evening, you are seeing TikTok at 4 hours, just know that you have not done well that day, right? And as employees, let's have conscience, right? Let's have conscience. So put in rescue time on your devices so that it would, I'm sure we have these devices on our phones where we can track what we are doing, so that question of where has my time run to, I don't know how I open my eyes in the morning, I close my eyes at night, and I just discovered that 9 hours, 10 hours of my life has gone. It's really not true. We're actually populating these things. In fact, if you're a leader in your organization or you are doing a lot of things, learn to delegate. Effort does not always translate into result and performance. If there's something that your downline or somebody can do, you don't have to do it. You don't have to do everything, so that you are not spending 7 years. Remember the story I started with, so that you are not spending 7 years doing repetitive tasks when you should be focusing on some things that are very, very important. For me, for instance, I have made this a point of duty for myself. If I need to talk to 4 people about a particular thing, let's say we have a media thing to do, and I know I need to talk to my social media guys, I need to talk to my sales guys, I need to talk to one blah 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 blah. I will tell just one person to organize a group call or a meeting or whatsoever, right? Sometimes there are not things that warrant meeting. Sometimes there are things that just warrant a quick call. Let's say you want to do these things, but I never make those singular calls. I have had to learn that by force, because I just discovered that I was calling a lot of people, and by 1 o'clock I'm exhausted. I can't do any other thing. So once I call one call, I've spoken to 10 persons. Beyond all the things that we are talking about here, find out how to make life easier for yourself on your work. It's not compulsory that you die on the job before you know that you have done very well, right? A lot of time spent on job does not always equate to all that you have done, right? For those of us who speak to management, you want to back up all that you are doing with numbers and data. That's why these tools are important. Even if you cannot use Power BI and you understand ClickUp, go and do a lot of things on ClickUp and generate a report, do a dashboard and present. It still makes sense. Know how to use your Excel, know how to do Google Analytics, know how to learn. One of these tools is enough. So if before 2024, it is Power BI you can learn, or you can improve on your skill on Excel, you have done well. If on communication, you are enforcing the use of Slack on Teams, don't just let anybody call you on WhatsApp and you people cannot even have a specific communication channel. You have not done well. If it is Zoom, if it is Discord, that's if you don't have an ERP within your organization. If you have an ERP, that's fine. If it's only rescue time, I've talked about rescue time, but you see a lot of them. Check Google Calendar, beautiful. Add events to your calendar. I was privileged to tell Dr. Yemi Adeosun one day that I needed him to please help me with something. And the only thing he just said was, "This is my email, add it to my calendar," right? So I just went and I just jejely added it to his calendar, and he got the notification. It made life easy for him. It's a different case when you say, "I will try and remember, and remind me 2 hours, call me." You don't need to call me. It's on my calendar. The highest you can do is there's Evernote, there's Smartsheet, there's Jira. There are a whole lot of things. So in 2024, you don't have an excuse, literally, right? I can say a lot of things, really. Can you use Google Forms, right? Can you use Google Forms? Can you use Google Sheets? Can you use Google Workspace? Can you use Google Workspace? If you cannot, these things are simple. And one thing I would like to mention is the fact that you have a lot of tools. In fact, one of the things that has built me, it was on LinkedIn. I was just randomly searching on LinkedIn when I saw you cannot do this alone. You cannot do this alone. You cannot walk this HR journey. I'm sure most of us can relate with that statement. Join blah, 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 blah. Nobody told me. I was just trolling on LinkedIn and I joined HR mentorship. I cannot tell you how many things I've got by just going to sit on Oluyemi Adeosun YouTube channel. If I type strategy, if I type payroll, if I type blah, 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 I will just see a whole lot of things and I would learn, right? You have TechCrunch, you have Smartsheets, you have a lot of resources to learn from. Online courses, if you want to do them, Coursera, Udemy. But I mean, YouTube, we can't exhaust that. I really want to run so that I get out of here very soon. Industry report. There's this guy who was my senior in economics department, OAU. He runs EduBridge. I'm sure some of us know EduBridge. He was my senior in school. Babatunde, that's his name. And one of the things that made him stand out in his career, he got into investment banking. He would just sit down in school. He's not really doing anything. No. He's just going to Deloitte Insight. As an undergraduate, he's going to McKinsey. He's going to these platforms to understand what the workplace is like, what people are doing, how advanced people are, right? There are a lot of tools that you can get by just Google searching. If you go to your office and the first 5 minutes or 10 minutes of a day, you just search on Google, right? Deloitte Insight, you will see a lot of things. you would see a lot of things. And in conclusion, if you are still averse to technology, whatever type of technology in 2024, you are not ready for the next big thing in 2025. And I know that 2025 is definitely a very big year. The new world order demands working smarter, not just harder. I must have said a couple of things, but these are just me touching little things that you still have to dig deep on. And on this note, standing on all existing protocol, I would say thank you very much for listening. We can have an interactive session. Thank you very much, Doctor.
Thank you so much, Victor. That was exciting, exhilarating, impactful. As always, I'm happy we've done this. I'm already contemplating maybe one of these days, maybe we'll put up a full day training for this so that we have more time, especially for those who can join physically or virtually, as the case may be. We'll talk offline about that possibility. Already people are sharing their encomiums and appreciation and thought comments in the chat box. But my brother and friend, Frank, says here, what happens when you are in a company that uses in-house developed tools? You want to quickly respond, react to that?
Okay, if your in-house, thank you very much, sir. If your in-house developed tools are working very good to meet collaboration, don't forget that the end goal is productivity. So if it's a productive tool, you don't have to know anything. If it does all these things there are 10 ways to the market. So I think you should just go, but it's okay to have an idea of these things, just in case you leave that company and you are not using that in-house tool. So you don't need to enforce this.
No problem. The important thing, maybe the value add for you will now be try and know those in-house tools more than the average colleague of yours. Then, so that when they have issues or they are not able to optimize outside the IT team, you're also one of the go-to people, and it will enhance your own productivity and outcomes, as the case may be. Another friend of mine, Nene, is asking here. She says, "Where is Zoho in all of this?"
Okay, thank you very much, sir. So Zoho, you can group that under task management. So Jira, ClickUp, Zoho. I couldn't have added all of them, but it's mostly used for customer service, right? It's also a project management tool. It depends on how you tweak, right? So customer service, task management, all that, Zoho works.
Fantastic. Of course, we are not, so to speak, advocating for any brand or product. We are just using some of the common ones. And if you don't mention any, it doesn't mean it's not recommended. Of course, you need to check based on your needs, your requirements per time. Someone here is asking here that what happens when your GM micromanages every aspect of your duties and the HR not willing to let you function?
I don't know if this is really within this scope, but of course, I would say that you should display competence some more. You should display the fact that you're a professional. When you speak, back it up with numbers. Tell him that you know what you are doing, right? There's a way you talk, there's a way you handle situations when you are at a higher level, and you just have to, at the end of the day, he's still your boss, right? So I just think sometimes it can be an informal discussion too. Sometimes he might be doing that because the level of trust is just not at a high level, right? But of course, doctor can also add a couple insights too. Thank you.
Absolutely. Sometimes those kind of bosses, no need to hate on them. Use them to develop your competencies and outgrow the boss and the organization. All right. I don't seem to understand this question by Vicky on getting started with HRS, but it's okay. All right. Okay, maybe this is a general suggestion to members to get started with HRS and put some things in order. Fantastic. I think that's just an admonition to us. All right, let me see. I think Faye here. Okay, thank you so much, Faye. That's well noted. Now that I know we've gathered some interest, we'll look at it and put something together. Even I would like to leverage for my own personal learning. I'll be a student in that particular session. Now, Josephine, my sister, is saying, what are remote work tools you can use, okay, to monitor employees' daily work activities the day everyone is working from home? Do you have any suggestion or tips, Victor?
That's literally what we did today. If you
Exactly.
understand ClickUp, anybody can work from anywhere and you will still know what they are doing. ClickUp has timesheets. We just did not have time. You can literally generate their timesheet from there. All right. So it's just a whole lot.
Yeah.
You can add other things, but yeah. But I don't want to just say so much.
Christiana is saying, can these two also serve as HRIS tool for small organizations?
Definitely yes. Definitely yes.
Okay. Vic is still saying, yeah, how do we get started? We've started already. Yes. Thank you so much, my brother. Frank says, thank you so much. Effort is not always performance. We should learn to delegate. It's a good one for me. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, Ayodele will organize a physical food day and hybrid so that people who are not in maybe Lagos can also join. Boss here is saying, Ojima is saying, how can you assess your performance personally? What kind of performance? Your productivity, your outcome? You will know if you are performing or not. You must know. You must know.
Okay, sir, just to add to that, I think one way to do that will be from this. I'm trying to look for a particular slide where I talked about the challenges we see. Sometimes how distracted you get, how you manage your time, how you prioritize, your lack of motivation. There's a way you struggle with these things around work, and you just discover that you are not performing well, right? So I think you should look at the problems first. Look at the problems, see if these things are issues. You just would know, as doctor has said. You definitely would know. You definitely would know.
All right. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. This has been time well invested. 90 minutes done and dusted. I'd like to sincerely appreciate my brother, my colleague, my friend, Victor Agu. Just to put things in perspective, I and Victor were together from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. today in a training, very intensive. And Victor had to, from that training venue, go to his office on a Saturday just to have optimal internet access to this training. And then he will leave his office to go home. And today is a Saturday. I salute your personal commitment to learning and also your personal commitment to excellence and to disseminate and share your knowledge. I'm going to unmute all and sundry now so that via voice, we can also express our individual profound appreciation. Thank you for your largeness of heart. Thank you for your steadfastness. Ladies and gentlemen, let's unmute and appreciate, as we call it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Victor.
Thank you,
Thank you
Mr.
so much.
Thank you
Very nice
section
session.
again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
you so much.
Good night, guys.
Look forward to another one. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll do this once again soon. Thank you.